Hello everybody, this is a story from North America and it's about a different sort of rabbit, an Arctic rabbit that actually turns white in the winter, and Mum was going to read it.
Okay, Rabbit and the Moon Man. It was midwinter. Deep snow lay everywhere and Rabbit and his grandmother were hungry. Rabbit had set traps around the forest to catch something to eat, but for several days his traps had been empty. When he went to inspect them, he found plenty of animal and bird tracks in the snow, but nothing for him to take home for dinner. "I think somebody's stealing from my trap," said Rabbit. "Then you must go out earlier and get to them before the thief," said his grandmother. But no matter how early Rabbit went out, he always returned empty-handed. He would tiptoe silently, moving like a shadow from tree to tree as he approached his traps, in the hope of catching the culprit. But no matter what he tried, the thief would always evade him. Then one morning, after a fresh fall of snow, Rabbit noticed an unusual footprint beside one of his traps. It was long and thin, and as light and delicate as a moonbeam. That night, Rabbit made a snare from a strong bowstring and laid it beside the trap. Then, holding the other end of the bowstring, he hid from sight behind a clump of trees and waited. "At last I shall see who's been stealing my dinner," he thought to himself. "When the thief comes along and steps into the snare, I shall pull it tight and tie him to a tree." Rabbit sat silently watching the snow sparkle in the moonlight as he waited for the thief to arrive. Suddenly the moon disappeared and only the stars were left to light the night sky. Rabbit felt nervous in the dark. Suddenly he heard the sound of someone moving through the trees. A white light appeared, dazzling Rabbit's eyes. It moved slowly towards the trap and stopped exactly where Rabbit had laid his snare. "Now I've got you!" cried Rabbit. He pulled the bowstring tight and quickly tied the other end to a tree. There was a sound of a struggle, but the white light stayed fixed to the spot. Rabbit was afraid of the dazzling light, but he bravely crept closer to take a look at the man of the long foot. However, staring into the brightness made his eyes sore, so Rabbit bathed them in a nearby stream. But that didn't help, and only made him cross. He threw snowballs at the light to try to put it out, but the snowballs just melted away. Then he took fistfuls of mud from the stream and hurled them at the shining light. "Ouch!" cried a voice. "You've splattered my face with mud. Come and untie me at once. I am the man in the moon, and I must get away before sunrise." Rabbit was frightened. He ran home to tell his grandmother. "Oh dear," she cried, "you must untie him or there'll be trouble." Rabbit returned to the man in the moon but kept his distance. "I will free you," he said, "if you promise never to come to earth and steal from my traps again." "I swear by my light," promised the man in the moon. Then Rabbit shut his eyes and crept forward, feeling his way. His lip quivered at the great heat of the moon and his shoulders were scorched. But just as the first light of dawn glowed through the trees, Rabbit edged close enough to gnaw through the bowstring with his teeth and release his prisoner. The moon jumped up into the sky at once and has kept his promise to stay there ever since. Sometimes he goes away to try to wash off the marks of the mud Rabbit threw at him, and then the sky is dark. But on a moonlit night, you can still clearly see from the splats on his face that he never succeeds. Sadly, since their encounter with the man in the moon, rabbits have never been quite the same either. To this day, they've never managed to soothe their pink eyelids, which are still sore from staring into the bright light. Their lips still quiver from the fear of approaching such a scorching heat, and their shoulders remain a burnt yellow, even when they're wearing their white winter coats. And that's the end.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.